Intro. In today's world, it's surprising how many people remain unaware of Jesus' appearance in the Old Testament. One particular instance of this is found in the pages of the Old Testament, where a remarkable encounter between the king of Babylon and a mysterious fourth figure unfolds. This story can be found in the book of Daniel, nestled within the inspiring accounts of Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. Today, we will uncover the story and significance behind the moment when King Nebuchadnezzar saw Jesus' body. The story unfolds in the heart of Babylon, a dominion ruled by the proud and ruthless King Nebuchadnezzar. This ruler took perverse pleasure in subjecting his people to torment. He was an absolute autocrat who wielded power over the ancient world. After conquering Syria, he set his sights on Egypt, his primary rival at the time. However, in order to fulfill his grand ambition of ruling over a vast empire, he needed to eliminate Judah, which stood in his way. Nebuchadnezzar's solution was to bring some young Jewish men to serve in his administration as knowledgeable individuals. Among those taken captive were Azariah, Mishael, Hananiah, and Daniel, whose names were changed to Belshazzar, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, respectively. Nebuchadnezzar, the king, ordered the construction of an enormous gold statue. Evidently, he took immense pride in the statue, which stood an impressive 90 feet tall. He likely intended to use this monument to gather all his officials for a grand event, solidifying his power. Nebuchadnezzar required all these dignitaries to bow down and worship the statue during its dedication. Anyone who dared to defy this command risked being cast into a blazing furnace, facing a gruesome death. And so, under the shadow of Nebuchadnezzar's decree, everyone complied. Their submission wasn't just a superficial act, but a reflection of Nebuchadnezzar's aspiration to be the paramount political ruler of Babylon and its ultimate spiritual authority. Nearly everyone complied, or at least the majority did. However, a clash was inevitable, as Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, individuals who had risen to prominence within this empire, were present at this grand assembly. These three men stood firm in a room filled with people bowing down. Their resilience in the face of societal pressure is reminiscent of modern scenarios where individuals might surreptitiously check if anyone else has their eyes open during a prayer at church. Amidst the sea of prostrated bodies, a group of Chaldeans observed these Hebrew men standing resolutely and hastened to report their disobedience to Nebuchadnezzar. Their accusations against the three Jewish individuals, who had managed to rise to prominence even while in captivity, were laced with envy, as they were forbidden by their own beliefs from worshiping any deity apart from the one true God of Israel. The minor court officials saw an opportunity and seized it. Nebuchadnezzar's reaction was a mix of astonishment and fury upon learning of this act of defiance. Interestingly, he allowed the accused to defend themselves, a sign of possible respect for them. But make no mistake, the king's ultimate requirement was total submission. The options laid before Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego were clear. Either bow before the colossal gold idol or face a fiery death. Just as before, Daniel 3:13-14, the resolution to this inquiry would come in due time. Despite Nebuchadnezzar's previous acknowledgments of the Hebrew God, he now questioned, "Who is the God who can deliver you from my power?" Then, in a fit of rage, Nebuchadnezzar commanded that Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego be brought before him. "Is it true, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, that you do not serve my gods or worship the golden image that I have erected?" inquired Nebuchadnezzar. What followed was an extraordinary response from these courageous Jewish men. Defying the king's direct command, they entrusted themselves to God. Their reply was nothing short of remarkable. "O Nebuchadnezzar, we do not need to answer you in this matter. If that is the case, our God, whom we serve, is able to deliver us from the fiery furnace, and he will deliver us from your hand, O king. But if not, let it be known to you, O king, that we do not serve your gods, nor will we worship the gold image which you have set up." Their message was clear. "We fear our God more than your furnace. Even if he allows us to burn, we will continue serving the living God rather than your lifeless idol." This display of unwavering devotion and preparedness for sacrifice is genuinely invaluable. It's astounding to think that they had contemplated and planned for this day, prioritizing faithfulness to God over self-preservation. Nebuchadnezzar's fury at having his authority challenged is difficult to fathom, but his countenance clearly reflected his anger. In alignment with his rage, he ordered the furnace to be 7 times hotter than usual. And so Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego were cast into the searing furnace. The soldiers who carried them were consumed by the intense heat, most likely due to their combustible attire. Hope seemed bleak unless an intervention of hope itself transpired. Daniel 3:19-25, Amplified Bible. As Nebuchadnezzar gazed upon the furnace, his face twisted in rage. He commanded that the furnace's heat be intensified sevenfold. He directed powerful soldiers from his army to bind the 3 men and cast them into the raging flames. The 3 of them were thrown into the furnace, bound in their garments, including coats and turbans. The flames' intensity incinerated the men who carried them, as the king's command was urgent and the furnace exceptionally hot. Still bound, the 3 individuals were hurled into the heart of the seething inferno. Nebuchadnezzar's astonishment was evident as he beheld the scene. The men who had thrown Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego into the flames were reduced to ashes, while the 3 remained unscathed. Nebuchadnezzar exclaimed, "Look, I see 4 loose men walking in the midst of the fire. They are not hurt, and the form of the 4th is like the Son of God." In this extraordinary moment, Nebuchadnezzar witnessed the men's survival and the presence of a divine figure. The 4th figure's appearance suggested a divine nature, possibly representing a pre-incarnate manifestation of Christ. Indeed, the Son of God seemed to be walking amidst the flames. Whether Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego were aware of this presence is unclear, but what is certain is that the presence of Jesus was unmistakable, regardless of their awareness. This passage reminds us that our perception or understanding does not limit Jesus' presence. Nebuchadnezzar further noted that the men were not only free from harm, but also free from their bindings. God has the power to soften the hearts of even the most hardened toward himself and his people. The spaciousness of the furnace allowed Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego room to move around. Unharmed, they walked freely amidst the flames, seemingly strolling through a paradise or a delightful garden. Proverbs 6:29, Amplified Bible. Can a man walk on hot coals without getting scorched? The answer, it seems, is yes. Rather than desperately trying to escape the fire, they walked about unhindered, reassured by the same God who had protected them from its fury. Nebuchadnezzar, who had deemed himself the most potent ruler, encountered someone more formidable. How would this encounter impact him? Would his self-assurance persist, leading him to demand worship as a god? Nebuchadnezzar approached the furnace's mouth and ordered, "Servants of the Most High God, come out of there, come here." And so Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego emerged from the flames. The gathering of advisors, governors, satraps, and prefects gathered to examine these men's condition. Remarkably, the flames had left no mark on them. Their bodies bore no burns, their hair was untouched, and their clothes showed no sign of damage or even the smell of smoke. Realizing that those he had condemned were miraculously preserved, Nebuchadnezzar called them to his side. Not a single strand of their hair had been singed. Being tossed into Nebuchadnezzar's fiery abyss had, against all odds, proven to be a relatively simple ordeal. Astonishingly, anyone could endure even a moment inside the furnace, considering the multitude of lives claimed just outside its entrance. God possesses the power to deliver us from trials, or to provide miraculous strength and support throughout them. The faith these 3 men demonstrate in the face of adversity is inspiring. Their response amid the trial highlighted 3 key aspects: an unwavering belief in the God of the Bible, trust in a God who keeps his promises, and faith demonstrated through their reliance on the sole power capable of delivering them from harm. Their acknowledgement of God's supreme authority over even the most powerful king on earth led to the revelation of this truth to unbelievers. Their faith exemplifies God's capability to rescue us from our struggles and tribulations. As Christians, we comprehend that God possesses the capacity to deliver, yet we are also aware that his actions are not always predictable. While God doesn't promise we'll never experience suffering or death, he does pledge his constant presence with us. In times of suffering or persecution, we can adopt the spirit of these 3 young men, asserting, "But even if he does not, we want you to know, O King, that we will not serve your gods or worship the gold image which you have set up." Daniel 3:18. During trials, we should embody this perspective. Their words resonate as some of the most courageous ever uttered. Nebuchadnezzar's astonishment at their survival ignited a revelation. Defying the odds and expectations, these men remained untouched by the flames. Their conviction in God's sovereignty overcame their fear of the fire, paving the way for divine intervention. This incredible account showcases how faith can transform the direst circumstances. Their steadfastness stood as an embodiment of faith and hope, signifying that even amid scorching trials, we are not alone. This story has captivated audiences for centuries, capturing the essence of resilience, faith, and the presence of a God who stands with his people in the fire. If you found this biblical insight intriguing, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe to our channel. Don't miss out on further exploration of historical narratives and biblical insights. Thank you for joining us on this journey. Share your thoughts in the comments below and stay tuned for further captivating narratives.